welcome so many familiar faces. I'm Valerie Luzzi, Valerie Sestito, Valerie Knight. I'm really honored and thrilled to be here tonight with the legends of vinyl, all of you legends. There's a lot of legends in this room, and I'm one too, right? Anyway, you know, it's the Hall of Fame induction ceremony 2015. Louise came from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Let's hear it for Louise, who did a ton of work to get together. And you know, oh, that's right, I'm married to the best man on the planet, DJ Frankie, who says, you know, come here, Frank. All right, Louise, you want to say a few words? We're going to start the ceremony in a bit, and it's just going to be a beautiful evening. It's so nice to see everybody. It's great. Give yourselves a round of applause.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start the ceremony in just a few moments, so please enjoy yourselves. We are here to have a good time. Are you having a good time so far? This is absolutely exciting to be here in the most beautiful city. Trust me when I tell you, this is beautiful. The history here is unbelievable. And to be next to Valerie, like, forget about it. She took off tomorrow, so tonight's party time, guys. Is that right? Okay. So let's have a good time. Keep the music going for just a little while. The bartenders are doing a great job here right now, so let's keep on doing what we do.
Well, I want to just thank everyone to come back to a special. They're all special podcasts. This is now my 51st. And with the memory on Facebook that I got to know this fantastic man, Louis Mario, who's the founder of the Legends of Vinyl. And welcome to my 51st podcast, buddy, all the way from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, correct?
Carl, yes, that is correct. Congratulations on 50, and here's to 50 more. So
thank you.
Congratulations, you're doing something that
I only have a soft drink here, so I'll tears with you.
Fine. That is anything that's the way to do it. I am very happy to see people that get engaged into this doing history, because it's all about the legacy of all these people, these wonderful disc jockeys, producers, artists, and all of that, and seeing you do this, it makes me very, very happy, Carl. Continue doing it. Absolutely.
Yeah, so some from friends of mine 10 years ago that knows I was a photographer in video, and they were with you organizing the first Legends of Vinyl award ceremony, and it was in Philadelphia. So I was very humbled to be part of that, and I took just the opening segments of some of that video and part of the whole award ceremony, and it's a 40-minute that's up on YouTube. But you know, showing some of the pictures from that day, some of the great people that were there, and actually handing out some of the awards for that first year. So, and I know here's one of my good buddies, Joey Marini. We just talked about him a little bit and he mentioned it's on tape that he loved the club scene so much he actually hocked houses for nightclubs. But let's go back into your background, how you got started, your love of music, and how it all started, buddy, and how it got into Legends of Vinyl.
This, first of all, is a passion, and I was blessed that I grew up in a family that was surrounded by music. Two different types of music now. My father loved the classical music, and my mother loved the let's call it the Italian, the music and the doo-wop and so on and so forth. So I fell in love with that immediately, and so it's been in my blood for forever until I finished high school. Just about, I wanted to go into the army, but if you guys from New York remember Times Square, they used to have the recruiting offices there. And one day I just stopped by and I said, to hell with it, I'm going in. And it was very skinny, very skinny. And the guy looks at me, the officer says to me now, he says, come back in a few months. And, in that little time, I fell in love. This is about the late 68. Early 69, and I met Francis Grasso, my mentor and forever my friend. And I met all the original disc jockeys from New York City, Steve D'Acquisto, Michael Capello, and so on. There's a whole bunch of disc jockeys.
What was
And
going on in the music scene at that time to make you? I know it was, we had the British invasion, we had
yeah,
Motown, but then there was also something going on in
yeah,
the clubs.
it was just an amazing experience as a kid walking, growing up in Manhattan, actually. And every opportunity that I got, I went to the Village, and there was a place there called the Electric Circus, and this is the late '60s, and the music was just everywhere. The people was just happy, and the places were loud, and everything attracted me to that scene, the music scene, and then the club scene. And I went into the Electric Circus. The Hell Angels were parked outside of the place. There were two bands that I remember. There were the house bands that before they even became famous. One was Sly and the Family Stone, Santana, and this is it was an amazing trip, really. And then another nightclub opened up called the Haven, and that's where Francis started playing, and that's I started going there and listening, and I fell in love with it immediately, and I was just staring at this guy, staring, and I learned everything that this person was doing. I mimic everything, and until I became friends with him and so on. And I had the pleasure that right here on my left, I still have, you see this line right here of records, that those are on the 45s. Those are my first records that I ever played. And some of those records were a gift from Francis. And I was lucky enough to become friends, and we worked in many clubs together after that in the '70s. But the music was just an amazing. Was all the imports. It was very attractive because it wasn't just your top 40 kind of a music, if you know what I mean. And the music that was coming from Europe and stuff like that, from Africa, and it was chosen by him, like Olatunji, Drops of Passion by Olatunji, Osibisa, Exuma, all of these great music that you could not hear on the radio. So that kind of, it was like an underground thing. This was not on the radio. There was no flyers. This was only by word of mouth. And then he landed at the sanctuary, and the sanctuary became, it was a church, and it became an iconic place to this day. That was the beginning of the dance music culture as we know it till today. You know.
Yeah, it's an amazing time because I was just a regular guy that I had, just so happens, a friend that actually was at the first one who actually just now passed, Nick Tatey, and I think he was indoctrinated a year or two later. But I met him at Glassboro State College, but then he was a DJ at some of the local clubs in South Jersey that I would go to, and I just caught that bug too. And I knew I wasn't a DJ, but I knew as a photographer, try to capture other sounds. But I showed this one video. I know one of your production people, I think your assistant Sue Bell, put this together for people who are around the country and here in California or back in New York and in Florida to see this. This is a great video that shows who you are, where you came from, and your passion for music. So I'm just going to play this a little bit right now.
Thank you.
Decades of club DJing and producing concert events, Luis Mario Oriana Rizzo has entertained and inspired. A music preservationist and futurist, Luis Mario continues to be an advocate of the DJs, recording artists, and industry professionals that molded the fledgling club scenes of the early '70s leading to the creation of the Legends of Vinyl in recognition and as a platform to educate the world. An innovator, Luis Mario recognizes the power of technology and created LOV Visual Radio, a 24-hour internet music format driven by the best of the old school and new generation DJs. Raised by his immigrant mother, Luis Mario studied his craft in the blaring lights of New York City during the late 60s and early 70s under his mentor, pioneer DJ Francis Grasso. Continuing on his own, Luis Mario played in legendary, iconic mainstream and underground clubs nationally and abroad. His style and talent was recognized by an agent who then contracted him immediately, something unheard of in the early days of the artistry of DJing. Luis Mario was there at the inception of the dance club culture, and he continues to be a force in the industry as it continues to make its mark on the future by sharing what he's learned and experienced.
Well, I feel that's a fantastic video of how you're beginning and your passion through the years for music.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
One question I have: did you play at Studio 54?
Yeah, but not as a resident disc jockey, only for two very private parties. One of them was, I remember, was that they used to do the white parties, and oh my goodness, my mind is gone. But this gentleman who did an event there for 3 days, and he asked me to perform there for him, and then he took me to Dallas, Texas, to Da Vinci when I landed in 1978, and I went to Da Vinci for 3 days. That was my contract for 3 days. And the club was was for the rich and famous, and it was just amazing. So they gave me a contract for 1.5 years. I stayed there.
That's unheard of for a company to hire a DJ the way you were and travel. And what an experience! Now, how old were you when that first came about?
Well, my first experience to travel was in 1974. When I was asked to go to Puerto Rico to open the Le Jardin, in Spanish, El Jardín, which was in New York. There was a club called Le Jardin. Michael Capello was playing there, and then they needed to open one in Puerto Rico, in Isla Verde. Now, Isla Verde wasn't even put together yet. There were like maybe 2 or 3 hotels in Puerto Rico. And I landed in Puerto Rico, and I was like, wow, what am I doing here? I mean, I'm, I don't know this, I don't know that. I mean, there's so many. I was about 24 years old, maybe. And, it was just an incredible experience to be able to go to another. It's not another country, let's say. It's part of the United States, but still, And then the next gig was in Hawaii, and that was huge. That was for 10,000 people for the Disco Fever 2000. That was 76, maybe 75. Then I continue going to each and every town. Once Studio 54 opened, the whole country went Studio 54 crazy, because the media was actually supporting this, right? It was just, people were crazy outside. Let me in. And Steve and all of these people was pushing people back and this, that, and the other. So every city wanted to have a Studio 54 of their own. So my agent at the time, his name, Roy Webb, he saw the opportunity to call different cities, and all of these cities had a lot of money, like Louisville, Kentucky. I opened Octaves in Louisville, Kentucky at the Kentucky Derby weekend. a multi-million-dollar nightclubs. And so now he decided to do this over. So he got me into every city, all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast, until I landed in Beverly Hills. Work and I opened for Max 151, working for Warner Brothers for the Gap Band, the Warner Brothers. So they got me into the studio, and I started doing some editing and stuff like that. From there, I went back to New York, and then I went back to Dallas. I went to Columbus, Ohio. I mean, so many places, right? And then 1979, when I came back to New York, and I was just going crazy, traveling so much. I got another call from my agent, and he says, did you see the TV that this DJ from Chicago who hates disco, and everybody, the country is disco sucks and this, that, and the other. They were burning vinyl, and he rented this freaking
That,
stadium.
that was that was a baseball game that they had that
He didn't
at
realize.
Park in Chicago. Yes,
He didn't realize the effect that it was going to happen. He didn't know that it was going to be enormous. And all of a sudden, they just burned the vinyl. So disco had to die. And here I am coming back from either Dallas or California. And I'm saying to this guy, what are you doing? He says, well, we're going to Vegas. We need to kill disco. I says, what are you doing? I make a living playing disco. He says, well, this is what they're going to pay you. Well, guess what? I just said, I'll see you there immediately. So what happens, I did a brand new place in Vegas uh, called Money, of all things, and across the street from the Liberace Museum in those days, 1979. And I got there. They got the Sugar Hill Gang, which if you guys remember, Rapper's Delight. They
one
were
of the first ones that really make it. Yes,
so they were there, and they hire this coffin. They had a coffin. You can find this video on YouTube that night that the disco died, and there I am in Las Vegas, and I'm going like, what the hell are they doing? Everybody was dressed in black. When you looked outside this club, there was a sea of people trying to get into this place because I was introducing the new wave music to the world. Entertainment Tonight was there, filming the entire thing. And there is this coffin, and they got this guy, this poor guy, dressed in white with a black shirt and the whole 9 yards, John Travolta. And so I went on, 9 o'clock, I went on, and I got the cue at midnight, when we went from disco into the new wave, and they put this kid inside a coffin, and they closed the coffin, and everybody threw roses in the coffin and let it be. And I started banging the heck out of it because I was chosen always because of my knowledge of mixing everything. Rock and roll, because it's my first love to begin with. Back in the early days, the music that we were playing was rock and roll, R&B, Motown, and gospel music. Gospel, of all things. It was really danceable. And so we mix it. We were able to make changes. This is way before even mixing by beat we didn't do that. We did what Francis Grasso created, which is the slip cueing technique. And you have to know how to do that to begin with. So basically, I introduced this new wave, and everybody started dancing, the way the kids were dancing in those days. So at the place was Paul Anka. Paul Anka owned a club called Jubilation in Vegas. unbelievable. It's like in the movies. And he says, "Wow." At the end of the night, he says, "Hey kid, good job." He says, and he says, "Hey, you want to see a club?" And what am I going to say no to him? I says, "Come on, jump in the car." Took the limo to his place. When I walked to this place, like I say, it was like walking into the movies. One of those nightclubs that you see in them only in the movies, you know. And and he looked at me and he says, "Hey kid, you want to play here?" And I ended up playing for Paul Anka, and after that, it was getting crazy for me. The end of '79, so I just had enough. I was getting just too much. It was everything was too much. It was just overwhelming, you know. And so I decided to go back to New York. When I got to New York, I said to my wife, I said, you know, listen, I can't travel anymore. I'm done. This is crazy. So I went to see a friend of mine who I met in 1974. Her name is Glee Ballard, who was now the general manager of the Copacabana, the original Copacabana on 61st and Fifth Avenue. And I says, "Hey, how you doing?" I says, he says, "Hey, great to see you." He says, "I'm looking for to get you a resident DJ here." So one thing led to another, and I ended up playing at the Copacabana from 1980 to 83. 1983, my agent came back and says, "I want you to see something." He didn't say anything. He just said, "This is the best thing since 7 Up." And I believed him because he was always right, the Sarabagan. So I walked into this enormous place called the Cat Club. And the way this Cat Club was designed, it was not just like a regular club anymore. This was theatrical. The lighting was theatrical. They had enormous professional stage. And the idea was to have dancers, the Cat Club dancers, twice a night. And I was like, I said, "Roy," I said, "I'm fine at the Copa. I mean, you know, oh man, you know, this is going to be different. You got to put your signature there. It's going to be all new, all DOR, which is what I was really trying to push at the Copa, but you couldn't do it at the Copacabana too
Was
much."
this the Copa of the Barry Manilow fame that time period when he was singing that song?
Yeah,
The
that's
Copa?
where everybody from Frank Sinatra to Jerry Lewis to
Yes.
Carmen Miranda and everybody in between, they all perform at that place. And and I had the pleasure of playing there for it. It was magnificent, really. I will never forget it. But I took the job at the Cat Club because it was a challenge. I needed to change. I needed to go forward. I needed to advance. I never got stuck in the same thing. I wanted to go forward. The Copa was magnificent, except that you needed to cater to, how can I say, to the same audience who bar hop three clubs. Copa, they went to the garage for Larry Levan, and they went to the fun house to see Jelly Bean Benitez. Jelly Bean.
And
And
Bean is actually the one who got the Madonna started, correct?
well, yeah, he got yeah, and they went out together, and they had a beautiful relationship there for a little while. But he definitely made who Madonna became at the moment.
Right.
You know, and he was to this day. I gave him so much respect and kudos for everything that he does, and so yeah, so
Louis,
that
if I could just interject, that it's fascinating that I've always looked now, we were at a certain age, we've been blessed with health to get here. And you always made your living with this passion, right? I always talk to some other people that are entertainers or in other fields. Did you ever have to get a real job, or you always earn your income by your passion with music?
Well, I started as a disc jockey, became a producer, and so on and so forth. But in 1980, like I say, when I landed in New York, my father-in-law, who was he owned an advertisement agency on Fifth Avenue and on Madison Avenue for 40 years. And he said to me, he says, listen, you got to think about the future and so on and so forth. It says, you've been successful, but everything is going to come to an end sooner or later. Think about that. And I say, I don't think so. He says, no, no, come on, listen. Why don't you go and learn graphics and open your own business? And so I've done so well. I've been successful pretty much as a disc jockey. I was back in 77, 78. I was probably the highest paid DJ there was. I was making $1,500 a night. That was unheard of for a DJ back in those days.
And just of people's perception, gas prices were maybe 50, 60 cents a gallon. Cost of a home was maybe about 50, 60,000. And you're making $1,500 a night.
But what happened is,
in today's world, that would be almost $10,000 to $20,000 a night.
Yeah.
Today's world.
Well, it's and some disc jockeys nowadays, they're making that much money, in one shot. But everything was given to the DJ. From the first thing that you do when you're a DJ, you go and meet the bartender, and the bartender will give you anything you want. Second person you meet in the club is the bouncer. You need protection. The bouncer will protect you. And then you meet the third person who gives you all the drugs in the world, and everything is for free. And anything that you need and everything that you want is given to you. In those days, I'm talking about in those days. Now that you wouldn't, there's no more clubs, there's nothing. It's a whole different world. But going into the story, I accepted the challenge as well, and I went to go to study to become a graphic artist. And then obviously I opened my own agency called Ecstatic Plus, right off 34th Street and Madison Avenue. And since I had my wife, and she was wonderful, she was doing the bookkeeping, counting, and all of that kind of stuff. She took care of the company as well as when I could. I did the jobs and stuff like that. It was a very successful adventure that lasted 37 years, really. And I kept that going until I decided to bring it to Florida, that's when I lost it. It was a disaster. And but yeah, no, I had that other gig, let's call it, but my heart, my passion, everything was the nightlife.
What made you move to Florida? When did you move to Florida?
Because my brilliant idea I told my wife in 1995 or 96, we were doing so well in the graphic agency, and I was still playing. I was still being a DJ. And I said, we had a condo here in Florida, and I says, why don't we open a subsidiary in Florida? She says, are you crazy? I says, no. And that's it. I said, I made up my mind. We move into Florida. No research, Carl, no research. This is the stupidest freaking thing I ever done in my life. No research about how Florida, here in Florida, I'm doing business in New York. Suit, tie, the whole, a professional executive. You're going to see a customer, a future customer. You go and play the part and so on. I said, let's go. We'll take a year. If we buy a house, we search and all of that kind of stuff. She followed. My wife followed. God bless her. She followed. We got here to Florida. Things were different. People do business here in flip-flops. than shorts or flip-flops. I mean, and the prices that we had in New York, we were charging on, for just collateral work like letterheads and business cards. You charge $150 minimum just per hour. That's what you do in New York. And nobody blinks an eye. But here in Florida, I I continued to ask for the same amount of money. People were looking at me like I was crazy. And then until I realized that I was definitely not really doing the research. Well, one thing led to another. I lost the business in Manhattan because I kept it open for a while. And then I lost it. And then I went back. I opened 2 clubs down here in Florida. And then in the year 2000, I started reminiscing a little bit about all of my friends because hey, listen, I'm from New York. Got homesick, I guess. I just got nostalgic about not seeing my friends. Florida is beautiful. I like it, but it's very laid back. So I said, I'm going back to work. But where are my friends? I mean, some friends I seen friends here, but where are these? Which is this? I wish I could put a list together and honor them. The reason that I said that was because I don't remember from day one that I was never had regrets to going into this industry as a disc jockey. And to have 3,000 people dancing in front of you, reacting to what you're trying to deliver. And so I had the most wonderful life, and I wanted to give back. It was just about giving back, as simple as that. Okay, to say thank you to the industry that helped me. And to this day, I can say I'm alive for a reason, almost 73 years old. And so I started making a list of all the names I could remember. No contact with anybody, no phone numbers or anything like that.
So before the internet really got a hold, right?
2007, 2000, 2004, I think. 2004, I think Facebook started coming into social media. But computer-wise, to this day, I'm not really too into it, okay? I have a nephew who is very much involved in that. So in 2009, he says, have you heard of Facebook? I says, what the hell is that? So he says, Facebook, it's social media. You can find people there. So I says, teach me, show me. So he did. I went into his page with him, and he says, hey, you just write the name of somebody here, and we'll lead you to that person. And if you recognize the person, then say hello. I said, okay, put it together for me. He did. And then I started typing there and saying, looking for this one, looking for the other one. And all of a sudden, I got a message from some. Are you El Flaco? You're the DJ from someone play this place, the other place, and oh my God. And I went, oh, geez, somebody recognized my ass. So, so I started to get happy about it and getting together, finding all these disc jockeys from back in New York. And so now that I've had a group of people that I can trust, people of my generation, I said, hey guys, what do you think about an idea of putting a list together to a Hall of Fame? In a heartbeat, everybody went, yeah, brother, let's do it. And I created, not immediately the name. They said, well, what do we call it? I mean, what are we going to call this? It needs to be something, that people can relate to. We're pioneers, we're from the early days. We created this. He says, well, the legends came up. But at the time, in 2009, I was invited to a South Beach, music, the Winter Music Conference, to a vinyl, because now people were playing CDs and all of that kind of stuff. So vinyl was getting lost. I mean, it was like disappearing. Nobody was playing vinyl. And so I went into that for this party that was for vinyl. So I was performing with a whole bunch of other disc jockeys. And in the middle of the night, I just came up, says Legends of Vinyl. That makes sense. That could be something that I can work with. And at that particular night, I approached Ray Pinky Velasquez, who later on became my vice president. There he is. And I approached him because he was the opposite of who I was. I know who he was. He was hired by my good dear friend Ronnie Suarez, who was the original DJ of the Ipanema nightclub. And Pinky, in the mid 70s, Ronnie wanted to get a night off, and he wanted to hire an assistant. So he looked for it, put an ad on the paper or whatever the hell it is. So here comes Pinky, and he became the DJ, the assistant of Ronnie at the Ipanema. And Ronnie is a kind of guy who is absolutely magnificent, a gentleman. He doesn't drink. He doesn't do drugs. He's just a straight kind of a guy, very focused in his business and so on. And I said, I want to have a vice president that is not like me. I mean, I'm everything that you can possibly imagine. So in order for this organization to actually have credibility and to have the elements that you need to have a Hall of Fame. And I talked to Pinky, and Pinky is still, to this day, is still the same. It's a good man. It's a good man. It's very intelligent as far as he worked at Vanguard Records. He remix or mix with and work with Mark Berry, Vanguard Records, and so he makes quite a few records. So that was his little background, and not little. I don't mean to disrespect him, but he's just absolutely wonderful. But he had a day job, and as a in business, which I'm more business oriented than in order to do things, I keep that in mind. I needed a vice president that actually can be part of it, not just 1 hour a month, because he was working for the Social Security office, so he couldn't do much of anything. So I was like, Pinky, we need to talk. We need to do this. We need to do that. I'm ready to organize. I need to put a board of directors together. I need to do all kinds of legalities and stuff like that. Well, unfortunately, I waited for the guy for 9 years for this guy to actually retire from the Social Security. I don't think that anybody else in this business would have done that, because time is of the essence, and I needed somebody. So after 9 years, I got to be honest with you, I'm doing the shows all by myself. Since I know graphics, I was able to do all kinds of marketing and stuff like that. So I asked him to resign, and and after that, after so many years, he resigned, and then I continue doing this, and then Sue Bell, this lady who I met at one of my events that I did in Miami, and she offered herself. She says, I'm moving to Florida. What can I do for you? I love what you do. I love the idea of honoring people. I love the idea. Can I help you? I said, well, I need an administrator. I need somebody that can actually do the office work to do everything there is there to do. So she says, I'll do it. Don't worry. I'll do it. I'll take care of it. To this day, this person, this Sue Bell, she is still participating and still the vice president of administration and the voice of the Legends of Vinyl, because she is the one who narrates the synopsis of each individual who gets
Yeah,
honored.
that video I showed of your whole history was her voiceover of
Yeah,
that
that was
incredible video.
yeah, that was 5 years, and we put that together. Somebody put that started doing this.
So my question is, how from all of that's putting together, how did you come up to finally you're going to be doing an award ceremony, and how did Philadelphia actually be chosen with you being, from New York to be
Yeah,
in Philadelphia?
it was a meeting. We had a meeting, board of directors meeting, and everybody had a say in the matter. Now we all know New York City is the epicenter. New York City came up with pretty much everything.
Epicenter for everything.
But pretty much, I mean,
Yeah.
especially in the nightclub business. But Philly is right next door.
90
Philly
miles
is,
away. Yes.
exactly. So what happens in New York, Philly is immediate. I mean, it's obvious. You have Boston, obviously, at the same time. You have Miami, but Philadelphia, in those days, in the early days, was so in front of everything. I mean, with the sound of Philadelphia, we were able to develop and to bring into the audience a brand new style of music that was never heard of before. When I talked to Earl Young, who is the founder of the Tramps, and I call him the heartbeat of the sound of Philadelphia because he created the Four on the Floor. He created the disco beat. And he also, in 1973, I think it was, he came up with the first disco song. The Tramps came up with the first. It's called Sing with the Strength of My Heart, a song that was created back in the 1930s, I think, by Judy Garland, Sing with the Strength of My Heart. And they put this version of Sing with the Strength of My Heart with a doo-wop touch and a disco beat. And we were that I to this day I will give credit to the Tramps for creating the first disco, as called disco.
Well, with their song "Disco Inferno" that actually was on Saturday Night Fever, they couldn't be any higher, and that's
They went
amazing.
one end to the next, and you know what? Forget it. It is magnificent. And throughout these years, I've been creating and continue to create the brand of the Legends of Vinyl, which I have managed to do. And we have, books in Italy where where they mention the Legends of Vinyl, and it's in Italian, but you have to remember that um, it takes a tremendous amount of effort to create a brand that can go around the world. I also 5 years ago I created this earlier than that. I created this visual radio, which is 24 hours a day on the website, legendsofvinyl.com/visual radio. You can that's 24 hours a day.
Is that
So I
it
said,
on the roof for Roku?
Roku is 5 years old. I bought a channel called LOV TV.
Oh wow!
So now I have a channel which is what you see on the website, you'll see on Roku. But on Roku we have commercials, and we have it's a whole different game, simply because the Roku goes from Australia, Europe, Canada, the United States,
Louis,
Mexico.
right next to me is I'm in my room, my office room, and I have my 32-inch Roku TV.
Yeah,
So, and
yeah,
in our living room, we have the 55-inch Roku TV. So
right.
that's an amazing thing. So what's the reaction been from people all over the world through that? Are you getting a lot of good publicity out of it?
Well, it is like I say, I did it because I want to give my friends and myself a little, how can I say, a time for us. We want to play. We're not auditioning for anyone because we already, what are we doing? Looking for work? I'm not. None of us are. So we are happy that we have a platform that we can express. It's like tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday. I have a show from 3 to 5 live, and it's called "Music Has No Expiration Date. Expect the unexpected" with LMOR DJ. Because if you can look, if those who still have vinyl, if you can look on any album, look to see if there is an expiration date. So what happens is that I go through my whole collection here, and I downsized a lot because obviously I'm looking for a location to donate everything. There's a lot of history here, tremendous amount of history, and the Hall of Fame needs to be donated in some ways before I die. So we are in books. We are obviously on the Team Lawrence. You're showing a picture there of me. I forget what page 160. There is a picture of me looking at the camera, and there it is. That picture right there. I don't know if you can see it, but that picture is at the first meeting in 1975 at the 99 Prince Street record pool, David Mancuso's record pool. And we had a meeting there, and only the disc jockeys, exactly. And I'm the one who's looking at the camera. And Tim Lawrence wrote Love Saved the Day, which is the first, it's a wonderful book, really. I love this book because it tells a story about David, who created Love Save the Day.
Yeah, give a little bit of background about those record pools and why all these DJs. How did that? You're wondering how they all got the music. Give a little background on those record pools and how, all your club DJs would all meet for that.
The In the beginning, as we walked the streets and from record store to record store, looking for product, and this is early 70, 70, 71, 72. You were just going to a record store and you would look for a record that made you, they didn't even have a turntable for you to listen to this. You just went by the label, a label that you know that you had, that had experience, that you had an artist that it could have a hit. So all of a sudden, we started to go and approach the record labels themselves. So we started going personally to and knock at the door to the record promoter and going into their office and bug the shit out of them and say, "What do you have? We need a promo copy of whatever you have there. Let us have it." So some of them were very, very open to the idea, and they started to provide us with records, and we became friends. We became friends, and we went from Atlantic Records to
You
Buddha.
made their life easier.
And so they gave us these records, and we went home and listened to it. So David Mancuso in 1975 had the idea of actually put together a record pool, so where it can be one hub, so everybody can come once or twice or whenever times a week you want to your bin, and you're able to get the product. Now, all the labels like that because they were bombarded by these jockeys in their offices. So David put all the DJs that were actually active for them to come to the record pool and pick up their product there, pay a fee, and whatever the fee was, really, it wasn't really important. We, um, but we picked up a lot of records, and then we got home, and then we listened, and then we went to work with new product. And the idea for the DJ was to present at that night with something, with a new record. And we knew exactly the kind of record it was. We knew exactly when we were going to drop that record in the middle of the night at whatever time. So, to make an impact. So then in 1977, David said, enough. David was a very kind of passive guy, hippie mind, very, very passive, very quiet. So this kind of took a little bit too much to do. And he called it quits. And then Judy Weinstein and Eddie Rivera, the two of them were part of that record pool, administration-wise. And once David Mancuso decided to close the record pool, other record pools started to open up. Here you go. Judy Weinstein opened up for the record. Eddie Rivera opened up IDRC, International Disco Record Center, New Jersey, Philly.
I know my friends. All my friends were DJs, and they called it the Pocono record pool down here. So,
correct.
So getting back to planning. So the decision to go to Philadelphia was through some people, through Frankie.
Yeah, that's right. So in the meeting of the minds of the board of directors, so I says, listen, Philly has a tremendous, it's very important. We need to actually pay attention to that. Let's go to Philadelphia and have our first awards there. And something, it was immediately everybody agree about it. And we decided to talk to Frankie. Frank did his lead work and found play 2 or play whatever the name of the play 2, right? And it was just a room. It was just a room. And we went to meet all of these wonderful guys that opened up their arms and their friendship. And we went to the radio station, Valerie's Radio opened up. We went to, Sigma Sound. There was we went to, a lot of history in Philly. And so that was just amazing time. So we decided to do it the second time, another time. At that time, we were not in the taking care of the artists and producers and sound engineers and maybe sound engineers, but because it takes a little army of people to put an artist on the stage, and we need to give the respect to them, to everybody. That's my logic. I mean, if you put a show together, you need to understand that the artist is in front and there's an army behind that artist taking care of everything else. You understand? So we need to take care of all of that. And
actually, I have to say, for some reason, I don't know if you could hear me. For some reason, my camera went out. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. For some reason, my video went out. But if you can still hear me, I could just finish up this. I know we're at the 54-minute stage, so I don't know what happened with that. But at least you can hear me. I can still.
Now I cannot hear you.
Now can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes.
Well, I apologize for people seeing this. They hear me, but they don't see me. But I don't know why my camera went out. Louis, I really, appreciate you coming on here. And obviously, we're just only going to scratch the surface. There's so much to talk about. 45 minutes to an hour doesn't even really do much to it. and hopefully maybe we could have a couple more on here and have Frankie and some other people, and maybe anybody in your. We could do a series of these if you want.
Well, yeah, I can suggest some wonderful individuals that can sit next to me, and we can talk about, reminisce, and the stuff that they can tell you. Paul Casella is there, right there. Paul Casella. Well, I can have a lot of people that can actually make a good show in memory of all the wonderful things that we've done. And I only want to say thank you to the world. Thank you so much. I'm writing a book. I'm on chapter 24 now. Is there 2 more chapters to go? And soon enough, I'll be putting my memories out there. So I'm looking forward to that. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Carl, for inviting me and being part of this.
And I apologize for this technical glitch with my no camera, but at least you can still hear me. And I make sure we want to have this the next time.
Well, no problem, no problem. But in the same case, I just wanted to say to everybody the same thing I say every day and every time. LOV is the message.
Well, thank you so much, my friend, and we'll be talking soon. And just stay on for a little bit after we end the recording because they have to download to the server. So stay on until we're finished. As we're just going to show that 16-minute clips with the ending of the DJs that got their award ceremony, and we'll end it from there. Thank you so much, and we're going to have part 2 sometime soon. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to class 2015. Congratulations, everybody.